as well. Danny's been fantastic for the first game of the season, but that's the kind of level that we've already seen pre-season from him and what we have learned to expect from a Raheem Sterling in a Manchester City shirt.
I think we've been seeing that from him for years, but we've paid probably less attention to it because we've been Chelsea fans and we don't want to watch what Man City are doing all the time. He was really at the races. He seemed fit. He didn't seem like, you know, he's playing his way into form. He seemed like he's ready right now. Had a good pre-season. He's electric. He was kind of in the middle and in the centre of everything that we did well. Link-up play good. I was surprised to see him keep the central role throughout the whole 90 minutes. Usually, you know, with that front three, it could be more fluid. You expect them to almost drift into each other's roles, but he seemed quite happy to be the 9 and to link up and almost come in and link with midfield as well. So overall for Raheem Sterling, I would say he was a kind of a shining light on a performance. I think he was the stand-up player on the pitch.
We saw it last week in the final pre-season friendly where he got his goal and he took it very well. He played in that sort of central of the three, like you mentioned there. It feels like with Raheem, because he's so good in a number of different positions, he gives you those options. But I suppose as a defender, you're half guessing that he goes and plays off the left, and then when he pops up in the middle more centrally, it's a different thing to come out. I wonder if that's potentially something Thomas Tuchel will look at in terms of, depending on who the opposition is, where Raheem lines up in the front three.
Yeah, I have no idea what those instructions would have been, whether it's go and occupy one of the centre halves or whether it's go into space. He seems to enjoy coming into midfield, and then that's a defender's nightmare because you don't know really if you should travel in there with him, and then he ends up getting in that little half space and causing trouble there. We didn't really see him drift wide much, which is when I would, you know, usually if it expected Kai Havertz to maybe go central, but we're still learning. I'm still learning what this team is going to look like. You know, I didn't know what system we were going to play. I didn't know if we were going to go with a back 4 this season or a back 3. I didn't know what our front line would look like. And I'm guessing it will change week by week, but it's a good start.
Definitely options for Thomas Tuchel, including Armando Broja, who come on. Obviously, I think, in fact, he made his debut against Everton under Frank Lampard a few seasons back, just before COVID hit, in fact, before lockdown. He's one of those players where he gives you a lot. He gives you a lot when he comes on. You know, he's quick, he's dynamic, he's strong, he's pacey, but he is also one of those players that Chelsea fans are getting very excited about. We haven't seen a huge amount from yet, so that's exciting that we've got a lot of potential untapped in a player that's come through the Cobham Academy.
Definitely, and we saw what he did, you know, last season on loan. Sorry, he was difficult to play against. You know, he's a hungry number 9. He's physical. He's very good technically. He gets goals, but his link-up play was really good. You know, even in little spurts today, you can see him. He's composed on a ball and he'll release it at the right time. And you know he's got a big future. You don't come through Cobham and do that apprenticeship without becoming a top-quality footballer. And
also, you know, he's one of those players that he's going to learn so much from training with the likes of Thiago Silva, you know, up against Trevor Chalobah in training, up against Cesar Azpilicueta, Kalidou Koulibaly, who again was faultless today. Hopefully it's just a bit of cramp and a little bit of sort of pre-season left over to get out of him, but he was sensational again today.
Koulibaly was excellent. You know, I think for that to be your introduction to the Premier League, I think is a very good debut, a very, very good debut. It is the toughest league in the world, you know. Everyone says it, you know, when they come here, they're a little bit shocked at the pace of it and how much teams are able to pass. You know, even teams that are lower in the division are able to play really good football. So he did very well today. I feel like he came off with a bit of cramp. I'm hoping that it's cramp. But you kind of expect that at this stage of the season. You're not really flying for the first few weeks.
Chelsea have done this in the past as well. We talk about, you know, the teams of Chelsea's history, where your likes of Frank Lampard, John Terry, Petr Cech, Ashley Cole, players in the dressing room that have got a bit about them character-wise, that have got a bit more sort of steeliness and determination. Chelsea are buying characters now with Raheem Sterling, Kalidou Koulibaly, players that have been at the very top level and led by example. And when you've got that, that's going to rub off on the younger players as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thiago Silva as well.
I think it's contagious, you know, a winning mentality, big personalities. Not everyone can have a big personality, but if you have a few of them in a team, they kind of bring up the dressing room. You know, everyone has almost somebody to go by. They know that that's a guy that I can rely on, that he's going to lead the team, you know. And if you have a few of those, and we have that in Thiago Silva, Koulibaly is ready-made. Sterling is one at the highest level. Mason Mount's a big character, you know, young in age, but a lot of experience, and they've done it at the highest level. You need big characters to win leagues. It just goes without saying.
Talk about that reliability and getting to a consistent level performance-wise. Kalidou Koulibaly and Edouard Mendy, obviously part of that Senegal team that won the African Cup of Nations at the start of the year. It's such a big thing, and I think it showed again today. Mendy making 2 brilliantly important saves to maintain the clean sheet, and Koulibaly being in front of him as well. That's clearly something that Mendy is going to absolutely love to see. Yeah,
well, Mendy is the last line of defence, and sometimes it does get to him and he has to do something extravagant, and he always does. You know, he's Mr. Reliable. Yes, there might be 1 or 2 mistakes in him over the course of a season, but that's just because he is so brave on the ball and we play out front and back. In terms of shot stopping, there are not many in the world better than him. He's such a big presence, and with Koulibaly, Thiago Silva in front of you, once we get a bit of rhythm, and once everybody really understands who they're playing with, because we're still learning each other's games, I think we will be a very, very solid outfit.
There's not many Chelsea fans either that the starter today would have had Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Reece James, Thiago Silva, Azpilicueta and Cucurella as a back five that finishes. But again, that shows the strength in depth that we have, and also the adaptability. We talk about Cucurella and Thomas Tuchel said about potentially playing in a back three, Ruben playing at right wing back, Reece playing left wing back, and then in a back three as well. When you've got that sort of solidity across the back line, you know that whoever's in that knows the system, knows the shape, and has got players that you can rely on around him.
I think when Chelsea are buying players now, they're buying players that, yes, they have a position, but they have the ability and the IQ to be able to play in a different position. Everyone who played today either played in their position or just out of it. You know, that we know that you can get Reece James in a back three or as a wing back. Ruben Loftus-Cheek seems to be able to play absolutely anywhere, whether it's a 9. I'm sure we saw him at centre-back at some point last year as well.
Yeah, against Luton away in the FA Cup he did, yeah.
When you're that good and you understand the game well enough and you understand the instructions, then you're able to play anywhere. And I think Tuchel likes that in players. You know, he likes to know that, you know, just because somebody's injured, that somebody else can come in, step into that role and do well.
That's a credit to the manager in his belief in the players and the system, though, isn't it, as well, knowing that any player can come in and play that, because he knows on the training ground they've seen it enough and he trusts them to do so. Yeah,
and some players can do it more than others. There are some players that, you know, you can only play in one position. That is their specialty. But for a lot of the others, they're able to just, where do you want me, gaffer? You know, and they're able to say it and they're able to give a very good performance. But that only comes off the back of Thomas Tuchel giving them really precise and specific instructions and them understanding it.
Spurs, obviously, next week. They've had a good result today. Transfer window's still open. A week is a long time in football. Yeah. Things might change. Players might come. Players might go. I suppose that jeopardy within the dressing room as well, knowing that I've got to make the most of my opportunities when I get it. Yeah. To start the season at home, here at Stamford Bridge against Spurs, that's your opportunity, isn't it? It's
as big as it gets. It really is. You know, there are some players who I expect to see, because they didn't feature today, I probably expect to see Kovacic, hopefully. But it is what it is, you know. We have players, and it's a week's rest, and we don't get many of those in a Chelsea season. So everybody who impressed and impresses in training, I'm sure will be in the starting 11. But that's your wake-up call, you know. Tottenham looked good this weekend. We haven't looked so good, but we've both got 3 points, you know. And it begins here. Against Spurs, and I'm expecting 3 points for us. I'm manifesting it.
Come on. Yeah, it's going to be a busy week on the Fifth Stand-Up. Here's what we've got coming up for you. Of course, a busy week because it's Derby Day next Sunday. Thomas Tuchel will be speaking to the press ahead of that, of course, on Friday afternoon. Make sure you stay across Chelsea's social channels and on YouTube, etc. And then next Sunday, Matchday Live, right here, the first one from Stamford Bridge of the Premier League season. It doesn't get any bigger than a London derby against Tottenham Hotspur. Dan, before we finish then, I want one word from you to sum up today's game as a whole.
Professional.
Professional. Absolutely love that. Professional. It was indeed a professional performance at Goodison Park from Thomas Tuchel's men. They start the season as they mean to go on. 3 points in the bag. Spurs next Sunday. See you then.